Hello everyone, so today we are going to discuss problems from set 1 of TCS NQT series. So without further ado, let's begin. So an automobile company manufactures both a two-wheeler and a four-wheeler. A company manager wants to make the production of both types of vehicles according to the data given below. First data represents the total number of vehicles, means two-wheelers and four-wheelers is equal to V. Second represents the total number of wheels as V. So our task is to find how many two-wheelers and how many four-wheelers are needed to manufacture as per the given data. So let's take a look at the example. So we are given input 200, which is the value of V, and then input 540, which is the value of W. Our output should be 130 for TW and 70 for four wheelers. As it can be seen in the explanation, 130 plus 70 equals 200, and 70 into 4, which is 280, plus 260 equals 540 wheels. So yeah, this exactly matches the description which is given in the data. Our constraints are my W is greater than or equal to 2, and W mod 2 equals 0, means it's always divisible by 2, and my V value is always less than W, which is also very obvious because the number of wheels always exceed the number of vehicles. And then I have to print invalid input if the input do not meet these constraints. So yeah, we'll also have to take care of these constraints as well. So the input format for testing is also given. The first input line is V, second input line is W. Written program should generate two outputs, each separated by a single character, and additional messages for output will result in the failure of test case that are given as invalid input. So let's discuss how to solve this problem. So let's just consider that the number of two wheelers is equals to X and the number of four wheelers is equals to Y. So what are we given? We are given that x plus y is equals to v, which means the total number of vehicles, and then we are given that 2x plus 4y equals w. We can further simplify this equation. First, let's understand how this is coming. The total number of wheels in a two-wheeler are 2, the total number of wheels in four-wheeler are 4. That's why we're multiplying them and adding them to get the total number of wheels. After this, after simplifying and taking 2 as common, we get this equation: x plus 2y equals w. After further simplifying, 2 goes here, and we can consider this equation as equation number 1, this equation as 2. Then we'll be subtracting 1 from 2, and we'll be getting something like this: x plus 2y equals w by 2, and x plus y as v, and we subtract both of these. X cancels, 2y minus y is y. We get y as w over 2 minus v. And we can then use equation number 1 to get the result for x. X plus y is equals to v, that is equation number 1, and y's value is w over 2 minus v equals v. And by further simplifying, we get x's value to be 2v minus w over 2. V goes there as plus, w by 2 goes over there as minus. So we have got the answers for x and y. All we need to do is just write the code. So I have the template ready. So let's see how this scenario works. First of all, we'll be taking input for v, and then for w, then we'll be checking for our constraints. Our constraint stated that my w should always be greater than or equal to 2. So if it's actually less than 2, then it will be a problem, and w mod 2 is not equal to 0, and if my v's value is actually greater than w, that's also a problem. So these are the problematic situations. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna print invalid input here, as simple as it can be. Then we'll be solving our answer. What our answer is x's value is 2v minus w over 2, so we can write it as this, w over 2. Y's value is w over 2 minus v. So yeah, also we need to check if both of these values are positive or not. These values are not positive, that means that we are having some negative number of vehicles, and that's not entirely possible. So if this happens, again we'll need to print invalid input, else we'll just need to print it in format 2v equals x and fw equals, my bad, equals y. So yeah, okay, so this should be less than 0 because we don't want negative numbers, but yeah, they can be 0 as I'm assuming. So yeah, this is the problem. Now let's run it for some sample test cases. And why is it taking some extra time? I'm not getting it. Yeah, it works now. Maybe some issues in the backend. Let's see, just see that if the output format is right. Output format is right actually, because there is no space between equals to and the integers. So yeah, we're getting the desired output, and this sums up that question. So now let's move towards the next problem. Next problem is stating that there is a chocolate factory that is packing chocolates in packets. Chocolate packets here represent an array of n numbers of integer values. Your task is to find empty packets and push them at the end of the array. So basically, we have to push all the zeros at the end of our array. It's a very standard problem. So there are multiple ways we can solve this. Let me clear this up. And firstly, let me take the input. You might be aware of taking a copy of the array. Let's call it c of n, and we'll be just iterating through the array I plus plus. First of all, let's take the input, and if our input is actually greater than 0, then instead of making it this, we can just c dot push underscore back a of I. It's not 0, then we'll not be pushing it. After some time we'll get an array C which consists of only positive elements, and the rest elements need to be 0 because we didn't include zeros. So I is less than n, I plus plus, and no, not this. We'll be doing, let's just make a while loop, it will make things easier. While my c dot size is not equal to n, will be c dot pushing back 0 at the end. So yeah, this should work. Let's just test it out for some test cases. This is the test case. uh, we're given 8 and these elements. We'll have to format these elements according to our needs. In the actual exam you'll be given a function in which you'll have to write, like you will be given a function and you'll, yeah, just need to return our C array. Instead we need to print it in this fashion because we are just doing it in our own organization. So yeah, let's just try to run it. So yeah, it works perfectly fine, as you can see. So yeah, there are also there's also a method that lets you solve it in order of one space complexity. If you cannot come up with this method during exam, that's fine because they don't really judge your space complexity tactics but your time complexity ones. So let me discuss it for the sake of completion. So let's just consider this array only: 450 and 19050. 450 19050. You keep a pointer here, let's just name it pointer 1, and you also keep a pointer 2 here. So basically what you do is whenever you encounter a positive element, you just increment pointer 1 and pointer 2 as well. So for this you'll be incrementing pointer 1 and pointer 2, then you get 5, you'll be incrementing pointer 1 and pointer 2 again, then you get a 0. If you get a 0, you'll only be updating pointer 1 while pointer 2 remains at this location only. And there's also a key step in it. You are firstly updating pointer 1, and let me explain it. You are updating pointer 1, and before updating you are like you are putting the element at pointer 1 at location of pointer 2. So basically we are doing something like this: a of ptr2 equals a of ptr1. How does this help? And if my element is positive, I am incrementing both the pointers. If it's a 0, I am only incrementing pointer 1. So how does this help? Let's do a sample run. 450 19050. So your pointer 1 is here, your pointer 2 is here. So what you're doing basically here is you're putting a at pointer 2, which is 0, to be equal to a at 0. So your array looks something like this. After this, same thing happens here. A of 1 equals a of 1. Your array looks something like this. After you reach 0, you're not gonna do this operation. You are just gonna update your pointer 2. After this step, basically your pointer 1 equals 1 and pointer 2 equals 2. And when you get a 0, you are not going to update your pointer 1, you're only going to update your pointer you're only going to update your pointer 2. So after you get 0, after this particular step, your pointer 2's value becomes equals to 2, while your pointer 1, sorry, uh, you're gonna update your pointer 1 but not your pointer 2. So what you're gonna do is, after this step, your pointer 1 and pointer 2 are 2 and 2. So pointer 1 is gonna be updated to 3. So basically your pointer 1 will be pointing to this element and your pointer 2 will be pointing to 2 only. So after this step, your array looks something like this. And after you again reach 1, you're gonna be doing a of pointer 2 equals a of pointer 1. So basically your pointer 2's value was 2 only, but your pointer 1 was updated. Your pointer 1's value was 1, so you'll be getting a of 1. So after this, your array looks something like this. And after further steps, your array will be reduced. There will be some extra numbers at the back, but you can always just count the number of zeros and update them. That's pretty easy, and this is a very standard problem. So yeah, this is only for uh, interviews. Like for interviews they might ask you to optimize your complexity, but for tests you can really avoid this. So yeah, thank you all for listening and stay tuned.